Well, Matt, it's great meeting you. Thank you for
Yep.
agreeing to this interview. I know you're a very busy man in game and out of game.
Yes. Yes.
So, a couple questions to kind of get us started. What's the most unexpectedly funny or bizarre thing that's ever happened in slow?
Uh well, I can't really narrow down the single one event, but usually there's something wacky going on a weekly to bi-weekly basis. Be it a weird thing in a room, like I know back a couple months ago when we killed that freighter in fraternity space, carrying 10 redeemers with a handful of dinky little faction cruisers, and we're just giddy about it. There's a video on that which you took, but that was always a bizarre. But those events happen on a weekly to
Yeah.
bi-weekly basis. Um, I think some of the most funny or bizarre things though tends to be just people hanging out on comms, what they're saying, what wacky little adventures they're going on, and just people sharing their stories in Eve that can be funny. So I can't really narrow down like a single point. Um, it's just keep a lookout on our YouTube channel and you'll see wacky things.
Right
But
on.
yeah,
Yeah, I keep telling the story of how Lord Karn signed my arc and an Arazu or Lachesis decloaked, and I was nowhere near Doc. I keep telling that story on the stream.
yeah, that gets your heart pumping. I wouldn't say that was funny. I would say that is scary.
That would be
Yeah.
the bizarre of the funny or bizarre.
Yeah.
Um, if you could have any ship in Eve as a personal dream ship, what would it be?
Hmm. I know I'm gonna sound like I don't care about AT ships, but I don't. A lot of people, it's too rich for my blood. I'm a Tower War type of guy, right? So if I was to have any ship in Eve, it would be infinite SRP wallet, so I could just fly whatever the hell I want. Um, or SRP whatever I want for like a group of people, like my alliance or just whoever shows up to my fleets. But apart from that, if I could get any ship, I don't know, maybe a Titan, just so I can eat it around. There's a guy named Ben in Boss. He does the Titan meme videos, and being able to do
Yeah,
something like that would be fun. If I had to not worry about actually having to afford said Titan, just give it to me and I'll go do stuff with it. That would be cool. But
that's
just
awesome.
infinite SRP. Give me that.
Infinite SRP. All right. So before we get into kind of the meat of all the questions, this is probably the first time a lot of people in Eve have like seen your face.
Yes.
Have has that perspective kind of changed recently? I know that a lot of times in Eve players uh, sometimes have difficulty with presenting their face in Eve. Do you see a difference? And I know this wasn't part of our list of questions, just something that came to me. Do you see a difference between Matt in game to Matt IRL?
Not particularly. I mean, I'm pretty much the same cut and go type guy when it comes to in-game experience. Like if you approach me on the street, I would have the same conversational tonage. For the most part, it all really depends. I'm not a shy person, but I'm not a social person. Even though I come off very sociable and engageable, for the most part, it's so I don't make a habit of just going out there and going on like any podcast for Eve or any of the big Twitch streams. Not mostly because nobody invites me. They have no reason to invite me to begin with, and it's not something that I strive for. I know some people want to have that clout of I people know my name, people know my face. I'm an E persona. It's like I just want to shoot internet spaceships and make things go boom. I'm pretty simple, so when I'm not doing that, it's because I have to do adulting in real life, and so it's like I can't mix the whole like let's do podcasts and be social and blow shit up. I can't do both. So I take the one that I like the most.
That's fair. Awesome. Thank you. I know that wasn't part of our list of questions, but yeah.
Yeah.
So getting back to the list of questions, um, how would you describe slow to someone who has never heard of it?
Um, the delinquents of Eve would be the probably the best definition of us. We got people from all over Eve, new players, old players, experienced players, people who've been in wormholes, people who've been in big blocks, people who've just been high sec mind, and so we're a catch-all, like everyone group. We always like to say we're jack of all trades, master of fun, right? Um, we have people that do every little bit of Eve, and for the most part, it's worked out really well for us. Obviously, we're not super specialized in one category or another. We are a null-sec sovereignty holding independent alliance, which is a dying breed in Eve. And people will argue, "Oh, well, you're not independent because of this or that." For the most part, it's like you got to have some diplomatic channels. You can't just be, balls to the wall, gunboat diplomacy, especially nowadays. But yeah, I'd say we're family oriented, mature, very welcome, very open to a wide, vast community of players from all around the world and all around the different play styles that they have in Eve.
Right on. One of the core tenets being real life comes first.
Oh, absolutely.
I think
And
I think a famous phrase you've said that I repeat to every recruit that I talk to is, "We don't care if the space in Eve is burning. We don't care if our style is burning, our structure's burning. Real life comes first."
yeah, because like I mean, since 2003, what Eve's been dying, right? So like, Eve's not going to be forever. Real life is forever. If you're gonna miss your kid's birthday or your wife's like pregnancy, like for a video game, like it's a video game, play it like one, right? We keep saying it like that, and I know it can be really hard, especially when you start getting to a point where, like me, like I've been playing E for 13, almost 14 years now, and it's so inground in my life. I've been playing it for almost half my life, right? And it's pretty immensely impactful for me as like growing up and playing Eve and learning it. But the big thing is like I have to know when to turn it off and be like, hey, I can't do this. I have to do this in real life. And I've been able to. I feel like I struck a nice work-life balance when it comes to Eve work and real life responsibilities. But a lot of people, when they join groups, especially like wormholers, wormholers are a prime example where you can't just turn off the game for a week. Like you have to log in, especially if you're in some of the hardcore groups where they're doing evictions and things like, why didn't you show up to this eviction? You need to show up to the next one, or you're getting yeeted out. And it's like, no, we do not require that in slow. Real life has to come first, or else you don't get to enjoy it like a video game. It becomes a second job, and nobody wants that.
Do you think that's what sets Slow apart from other alliances in Eve?
Oh, big time. And I know every alliance usually says like, "Hey, real life comes first. Don't worry about the video game and this and that." But what ends up happening is a lot of the times these people who go join that, and like we have people that, and I'm not going to name drop things, but they'll go join a group that says, "Oh, real life comes first. Don't worry about it." And then they're in it for a couple months, but they didn't join a few CTAs that month, and now they're getting hassled for it. And when they come to us and be like, "Hey, I'm interested in Slaw. I've heard good things. I've heard you guys are fairly friendly to new players, but also, you're not, not focused on being hardcore gamers." And we say the same thing that they heard from the last group. Hey, it's real life comes first. And like, oh, I've heard this.
It's
And I
almost like
know
a
it's bullshit.
PTSD.
Yeah. It's like, I know this is bullshit. But then they come and join us, and then a month in, they're like, you know what? You're actually legit. Like you what you say is true when it comes to this. And I'm like, oh, thanks, man. So I know it's a thing that people broadcast a lot, but it never seems to stick. And I've seen wormholer corporations, alliances advertise, there's no mandatory things and this and that, and and I don't think that is ever true of the wormhole community. It just can't be. The nature of the community itself, it requires a level of commitment that you don't need in nullsec or any of the other space.
Absolutely. Right on. What do you think if a person was going to join Slow? Who do you think would thrive and who would struggle?
Um, Really, it all people who don't want to be social struggle. Eve is a very social game. And one of the biggest resources you have in Eve is player communities and player corporations and alliances. So just like any other organization, if you don't involve yourself, you're going to lag behind and be eventually left behind. Um, it's a give take relationship. We have a lot of experience in slow. We have a lot of great people, but if you don't come on comms, if you don't ask questions, if you don't be part of events or fleets, you're not going to learn. You're going to feel out of place, and you're eventually just going to try to find some other group. A lot of the cases, it's like we get people who will join and they'll leave after a month because they just don't want to do that. And it's completely acceptable. Like, you don't need to be part of the fleet. You don't need to be part of the comms. You don't need to do this or that. But at the end of the day, it's like those are the people that will struggle. A story I like to tell is like a guy who's part of our alliance management now, Secret Butters. He joined us, and within 2 days of playing Eve, he was with us. Like it was very quick. He was part of another group, but within like a couple days with us, he was getting his skill queue refined, asking questions, getting fits, and he was part of our military campaign that's going to pass way like 3 years ago. And with his little dinky little frigate, he managed to catch and tackle and hold down until hard tackle got on a carrier, and we killed it. And this carrier was pestering us for a week now. This guy just dropping this carrier, just being ballsy, but being able to support it. And Secret Butters with his little dinky ship was able to catch and hold down and do this. And because of the time he spent on comms, asking questions, getting familiar with the community and things like that, he excelled and surpassed anyone who wouldn't. And it's not that anyone can't do this. You just need to be on comms. You just need to be active. So the people who thrive are people like Butters who get on comms. And the people who struggle are the people who don't get on comms, don't ask questions, and kind of keep to themselves.
It sounds like Butters had his own "I was there" story.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a lot of that in slow, I would say. And that's why it's always the unexpected, funny or bizarre things. Like, there's just so many.
Yeah.
And there's just so many wacky personalities that it just makes it much more enriching.
So you've said a lot of good things, a lot of the good strengths with slow. What are some of the challenges that slow still needs to work on? Because
Oh,
there's
there's
always room
tons.
for improvement. You
Oh,
said so
oh yeah.
yourself.
I think one of the biggest challenges that a lot of organizations face in Eve is how do you go from a few people, like just like a small group of people, like you and your friends after school, to a medium size that I feel slow is a medium size. I mean, we might be still small, but how do you go to from that to a medium and then eventually to a large? How do you do these transitions? And it's very difficult. Obviously, there's in-game mechanics that CCP could obviously fix. But how do you work around that? Like, one of the things I keep mentioning is I would love for alliance-based hangar. I would love for it. I would love for alliance-based tax system. CCP doesn't have these systems because postcode, I don't know,
Spaghetti code.
right?
Spaghetti
I don't
code.
know. But I will always advocate for those things and cry about it. But ultimately, the biggest kind of things we do need to work on is I feel like trying to bring in more middle and upper management within slow. It's hard to kind of like do that when you don't know who can do the task. And we've been experimenting with like throwing people to it and seeing what sticks. But that's one thing. Trying to reduce the administrative tasks from one person to multiple people, or trying to divvy out task loads. That's another issue. And just all around trying to build an indie. One of the things that's really hard and slow is, in just any organization or community, it can be very difficult because like you have corporations that specialize as, oh, we're a PvP corporation or we're an indie corp, and that's great, that's fine, but as an alliance, it's really hard to have a central sort of cohort that does this. With the new mercenary projects, well, mercenary tasks, whatever it's called, there was the projects which they kind of fell flat in their face because they were only corporate based. CCP did it again, and it took like what, 2 years after
Two
they
years.
released that
Corporation
to,
projects to do freelance jobs.
yeah, and it's just like, it's like, the game is built on alliances, not corporations. Obviously, alliances are built from corporations, but having that integration between or across corporations is something that we try to strive to be. But it can be very difficult when you do have a community that's based off of very independency, very self autonomy type corporations. We love to give the power to the individual corporations and players versus centralized authority or like an overarching, like, baddie that tells you to do everything the way you want. And I feel like we do need a little bit more centralization in slow, but we also need to balance it with obviously the respects and needs of the player base and the corporation leaders that entrust us with the power that they've given us essentially by joining us. So those are things that are struggles that we have to work on and kind of we chip away at. We're never going to be perfect. What works today might not work tomorrow, right? And we're always trying to get the feedback from the community and the corporation leaders to try to amend and change and tweak. But yeah, that's the biggest thing is
That's
just,
great.
yeah.
That's great. This one should be a fun one. Are there any traditions, inside jokes, or rituals that define Slow's culture? I know one guy back with our old merch store. He wears all the time the 10 more dudes shirt and gets
Yeah.
gets a bunch of head turns.
Um, Obviously, some of the traditions we've carried from various other groups. When we did pod safe training, you probably remember some of that way back in the Ubuntu days.
I gave you your pod safety.
Exactly, right? So there's some of that. That's when we would like, okay, we're gonna blow up your rookie ship, and your job is to warp your pod off instantly so it doesn't get caught. And if you get caught, we get to kill you. And you spawn in the station, get a new rookie ship, come back out. We rinse and repeat until you finally get it. And this was to train people so that they can warp off their pods so their implants don't get caught. Now this was
Their
in a high sec
implants,
base.
their skill points.
Yeah, because this was back when skill points were a thing, and you had to actually buy your clone. Oh, it was atrocious.
I still have your rookie ship kill mail like postered up on my wall.
Good. But no, and it's great. That's one that we do a little bit. Inside jokes. I mean, there's the butter tax. That's a common one. The 10 more dudes. That's another one where it's like, if we had 10 more dudes in fleet, we could have took the fight, or we would have won that fight if we had 10 more dudes. It didn't matter because even once you got that 10 more dudes, it was still, you need 10 more dudes, right? um, and just all around, just funny jokes. There's so many. Really, like even if you spent a month within slow, you probably wouldn't have all of the insider jokes and that define the slow culture. And there's always new ones being added to it. And it's just there's all these insider memes that are great, especially when we start getting conflicts, when we start getting the propaganda mill turning. Like I feel, and I might be biased, that we throw out some grade A content when it comes to memes or propaganda, but that's just me.
And if someone takes too long getting our inside jokes, that's just skill issue.
Yes, that's another one. Yeah.
So, speaking of 10 more dudes, you're the one FC that I know, and I'm totally biased. You're the one FC that I know that is capable and willing to take an underdog fight, even if something doesn't look right. Of course, if it's 10 dudes versus 100, strategically, don't take that fight. But if you have something up your sleeve, you take that on. How do you balance competitiveness with keeping the atmosphere fun and welcoming?
It can be challenging. What in kind of the creation of slow was in former groups and former alliances and corporations. I've seen issues where we got too stuck with the idea that we can't afford to have a lost mail, so we're not going to risk it. And yeah, there are certain elements where we wage like, okay, the risk versus reward, but eventually you have to make a decision. Whether it's a wrong decision or a right decision, you could talk until your face goes blue at the end of the day, but at that moment, you have to make a decision. And I've seen this progressive trend within Eve where people, even though they have more money, more assets, more everything, more capitals than ever before, they're less and less inclined to risk it. Whereas back in 2012, they will drop you like it was no tomorrow, and they had nowhere near the amount of capital assets. So I found a lot of the time is you fake it. You fake that you have the stronger position, and people fold. And with the name of slow children at play, literally it's like, what do you expect? You killed a bunch of people that are literally called slow. Okay, cool, right? But then when you lose against those people, well, then it's a whole other matter, right? It's like you just lost to slow. Like, how do you recover from that? It's like we know we're trash, but you just got beat by trash. So There's no beating that, and that's the mindset we go into. It's like we are going to undock, we're going to try to take a fight, even though they outnumber us, and they probably have a backbone, they probably have a sino, but it doesn't matter because we're going to use tactics like Power Wars, we're going to use NATOs. We're going to do something that will try to even out the field. Because why should we fight like a war target? Like, for instance, everyone's been fighting Black Flag. They probably have seen or heard of us fighting Black Flag. Why should we fight them on equal footing? When we are, everyone in need despises them for right reasons. So why should we fight them honorably when they are not honorably? So we look at strategies and how we can engage that, and then how we try to craft that for people to have fun. It's just like you explain to them, like, okay, look, we have a ship that's worth a tenth of theirs, and we used it to kill way more than we ever will lose, and that for us is fun. That is engaging. Oh, they brought 100 dudes, but you only have 25 dudes. Okay, let's get NATOs and volley a couple of their ships and warp around and have fun, and everyone's giggling, everyone's getting all giddy and having a fun time, cracking a couple beers.
And then they catch a NATO, and it's like, oh no,
Yeah,
we still killed
it's
your
like, oh,
Balgorn.
it's like, yeah, we still killed your Balgor, we still killed this, and it was the same sort of like when we were fighting way back in Cloud Rang, like Snuffed out, like they were being sweaty nerds, right? And that's what Snuffed is, and kudos to them because that's the play style, right? They are the big bads, they're the sweaty nerds, but it's like, how does Slow, who has nowhere near the amount of players, fight a community that is notoriously good? You don't fight them on equal footing. You fight them the way you like to fight and have a fun time doing it. And we grew immensely from that. And we have these creative, innovative thoughts that we kind of just slap together and we try it. And that's a great thing too, is because nobody expects the underdog to win. Nobody expects us to come up with brilliant plans with a name like Slow. So they underestimate us. They undervalue our potential, and then they end up feeding us nightmares because we brought out armor tanked EM thermal resist units with hams and webs, and it's like, oh shit, that happened, and then it looks bad on them because it's like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. And kudos to people who take those fights, but I like, I got a mad respect for Snuff because they're willing to throw down more than anyone else in low sec. But hubris can be their downfall for any group. And same goes with us. We can't get too ego struck on our ability, or we're also going to get struck down. But we're willing to undock and take fights that normally we wouldn't. And that's just the fun nature of Slow.
Right on. So shifting a little bit more into you and how you manage Slow, what's a typical day look like for you as the Alliance leader?
Wake up to a dozen or so DMs from a 4-hour sleep. I don't sleep much these days. And then I'm usually actioning high level drama, depending on various things. It could be, I don't know, just various things, nothing in particular. And that's part of being alliance leader, is trying to squash that and trying to do it in the respectful manner, because a lot of it's like sometimes can be herding cats. But once that's done, it's trying to figure out, okay, what's on the docket for this week. A lot of it's like managing, making sure our fuel is being managed, making sure our projects are being managed properly. You're managing managers as an alliance leader. There's certain things that I like to manage personally, and that's part of the thing that the PvP side. But also some things that I don't really have much experience or like to manage, where I try to delegate it down to other persons who are more in tune to that. And you're trying to make sure that those people are actually doing it, so that if you start seeing someone that's kind of waning, because everyone gets bored, everyone gets burnt out of Neve, you have to find replacements for them. So you're really always kind of not necessarily recruiting, but you're recruiting within your own ranks. So you're always looking for the next potential good director, the next potential good leader for this position or this department, or you're taking the feedback from corporation leaders and directors on, like, hey, we should do this or that, and then you're trying to formulate those plans. You're trying to think ahead, but you have to work within the now, and how do you get to those next steps? So for me, a lot of it is making sure CEOs and directors are all good, drama squashed, people being put in positions that they can fulfill, and always on the lookout for new positions that could help enable us to do greater things.
Awesome. So how do you balance strategic decisions with member engagements, picking strategically we need to do this, even though members might not understand.
Well, we'd like to try to be as transparent, and I know this has been very contradictory to some of the things when we're trying to work with our friends in Boss, say, where they're very OPSEC and we're very transparent. And like, yeah, there's going to be spies, right? Um, and we've had people who have joined us that were spies that ended up coming and joining slow fully because they're like, yeah, we like you guys way better. Like, you guys have been a hoot, you guys have been fun. Um, so just being honest, being like, hey guys, look, this is going to be boring. We're going to slug out for 4 to 6 hours of bashing structures, but the end results are we get these moons or we get this space, and this is what it enables us to do. And just being honest, being straight with your members, being like, hey, we need you in fleet because of this, and this is why. And I feel like if you don't treat your members with that modicum of respect, you're failing as a leader. But also at the same time, being in the Canadian Army myself, former Canadian Army, there's a doctrine thing that we've had since War One, which is you teach the guy below you your job so that if you fall, he can do your job. And it is followed through in Canadian Armed Forces culture, but also it's followed through in a lot of cultures, that you should know the job above you and as well as the job below you so that everyone can better fulfill those roles. So how can I expect a line member, say, to be effective in a fleet or be encouraged to be effective in a fleet if they don't know why they're in that fleet in the first place? If they see all CTA form up here, doctrine to be determined, or doctrine is this, and then they form up and they go, what is this fleet for? Who are we fighting? Why are we fighting? Those are questions that should have been answered way before they got in fleet, or they should be able to, like, they should have an understanding. And I think that is how you make it important and impactful enough. We do have our classification system, obviously, skirmish level fleets, strat level, and CTA. Those are our 3 main ones. And then there's event fleets for like PvE events or mining fleets and stuff. But for the most part, people understand that a CTA is like, this is max nerds. If you can get to it, please get to it. Obviously, IRL dependent, like IRL always comes first. And that helps kind of bounce that. So people go, I can show up to the strat level or the CTA, but I can't really show up to an event if I'm going to go do this fleet, because real life I can shuffle things around. So we give that distinction so people understand the higher need fleets versus the lower need fleets. But just being transparent and honest and upfront and respectful to your members that, hey, you're taking time out of your day to play a video game with me. And yeah, this may not benefit you directly because maybe you're not a miner and you don't care about that Athenor that we just flipped so we can have our own R64. But this will benefit so that our miners have something to mine that we can tax, that then goes into your SRP wallet, that then can be divvied out. So when you're PvP in next time and you request SRP, we have the funds. So being honest and transparent is paramount. And that's worked really well to us, using the carrot approach versus the stick.
That's great. That's great. So, have you ever questioned a choice you've made as an alliance leader, and how did it affect you personally?
Oh, all the time. If you're not questioning your decisions, be it internally with yourself or within like a closed door in like alliance management stuff, which we always question ourselves all the time. But if you're not questioning yourself, you're not improving on your decision making. Obviously, it's like they always say, like, look, like everything's easier to look back in reflection. Like, so I've made decisions that I thought I could have done better. I've made decisions where I'm like, that was a wrong decision. And the thing is just like, and the great thing is I learned this from when I was FCing, is it doesn't matter whether you make a wrong decision or right decision. In some cases, you have to make a decision, whether it's left or right. People are going to chastise you no matter what. But at the same time, you have to own that responsibility. Like, oh, I just made a decision and whelped my entire fleet. I screwed up. I messed up. People took time out of their day. They sacrificed real life for this hour-long fleet. We didn't get any kills, and we just wiped. And it's like, well, shit. How do you like? You have to be able to take that and not overthink yourself too much. But I do. There's been some sleepless nights looking at the ceiling, thinking of how could I have done better? How could I have done something differently. But then also you have to come to the realization how badly could have went if I'd done worse, right? If I didn't make that decision, what the outcome would be. And there's been plenty of decisions. I can't really name them all, but probably like every week I'm thinking of like, I should have did this or I should have did that. And there's micro one. Everyone should be doing that anyways on a micro scale. Like, oh, I should have not took that fight, or oh, I should have done this, or I should have mined that rock instead of that run because it was worth more. But now I know, right? And it's like always creating AARs, right? After action reports. What did I do for the day? And I don't journal, but I've heard journaling's really good for this, where you can kind of put your thoughts on paper and then be able to deconstruct it. And then you can kind of like, okay, yeah, no, next time I come to a similar situation like this, I'll take the left instead of the right. And yeah, so it affects you. It's sleepless nights when you make bad choices, or even when you make good choices, but you don't know they're good yet. It could take months for you to realize, oh, this is a good choice. I'm glad we did it. And a lot of the time it's gambling. You're just rolling the dice and seeing.
And seeing how it rolls. I think that blends nicely into this next question that I have, which is, what's the hardest truth about leadership in Eve that most people don't see?
It's a thankless job. A lot of people, when I created Slow Children at Play, I didn't create it with the idea of I want power. I created because I got sick and tired of not being able to have fun within organizations, because their goal wasn't to have fun, their goal was obtaining power. And obtaining power is great. You get more ISK, so you can have more activities for your people. But how you obtain it and what you do with it defines you as a group. We are nowhere near the powerful, awesome, rich alliance that a lot of the null set groups are, or even the high set groups comparatively. However, people still think that because I'm leader, I therefore have an immense amount of power. I can't make you join my fleet. You have to be willing to join my fleet. I can't make you pay your taxes. You have to be willing to pay your taxes, right? So the hardest truth about leadership is it's a thankless job, and you get a lot of resentment for it, because when you make those mistakes, which you will make those mistakes, you're to blame. When you interrupt someone's fun game time so that you can defend a structure so that everyone will have a home, it is you that's telling them that they have to get in fleet, or try to get in fleet so that they can defend the Keep Star or Fortizar or whatever. And then when you lose that structure, it is on you for having not the Diplo contacts, or not being big and strong enough to defend this, or whatever, right? So it really falls down on leadership. And it's very like nobody goes around and goes, oh, thank you for being nice to me or this or that. Like, it's like, no, you'll hear when you're doing a bad job, but you're never here when you're doing a good job. And you will spend a lot of time, energy, and your own money, and you probably won't get anywhere near the amount you put back out. So
I remember
always
for a
bad.
long time you were having to credit card warrior SRP.
Yes. I mean, when you don't have moons, you don't have moons. But how do you go from no SRP to get the ships you need to go take moons for a alliance when people don't see that direct trickle back? Now, being transparent and honest about it was one way, but when you got new players, or when you got semi-new players, they can't afford a bar guest, or they can't afford a nightmare, or they can't even afford a T1 battleship hull. So sometimes you just have to be like, hey, look, if I will hand you this ship, I will loan you this ship. If it dies, that's okay. If it doesn't, give it back, and we can kind of just keep loaning out ships until eventually we get enough moons, enough monies that we can afford to fully SRP people and kind of build that up. So there was that growing pain, and that goes back to the question of going from a small group to a larger group. How do you like in trying to adjust and build on that? And it's a continuous improvement effort for sure.
Absolutely. So, leaning into that, how do you balance your personal vision for the alliance? How do you balance your personal vision for the alliance with the desires of the members?
You kind of have to. So, of course, most, if not all, successful groups in Eve is a dictatorship. And that's without fail, right? Because the big thing is you have to hear input from other people, and you also have to balance it with the ideas that you have. Like my idea for slow is I want a fun, inclusive community that's passionate, that loves gaming, that doesn't get stuck on the nitty gritty, that isn't like sweaty nerd, like, got to be elite. Don't get me wrong, we do have some people that are really, really, really talented in our group that can be kind of sweaty, but the overall community is this. And we've had people that have joined and said, hey, we need to have mandatory CTAs. And we've had some pushback. Like, if slow doesn't do it, we're going to die. And it's like, look, that's not our way. So I've had to say no to people, and I've been called everything, including a tyrant because of it. But the tenets of slow community and culture was these are them, and when you join, you are accepting that that's that. And we will wiggle on some things, but we won't change. But ultimately, if I make too many bad moves because people didn't agree with me, I won't have an alliance. I won't have people following me. I won't have nerds in my fleet. And you have to make compromises. It's not a full dictatorship. It's almost like a dictatorship with consent, because it's a video game and it's not real life. And you could just literally go, I'm gonna leave and go join Brave. I'm gonna go leave and go join Goons. I'm gonna leave and go join Horde. And
I'm just not going to log
we're
in today.
I'm just not gonna join your fleet. I'm just not gonna log in. I'm gonna quit Eve. So it's like you have to balance that with input. Like, hey, if you have any opinions or suggestions, please forward them to me. Hey, if you think that I could have done something different, like, by all means forward them to me. I get those on a regular basis. Talk to people, figure out what they like, CEOs and directors especially, and that's kind of just how you have to go. It's really difficult. Sometimes, like, I have to take a step back and be like, hey, um, we have to investigate whether this is a good idea or not. I think it's a good idea, but maybe all the other CEOs, directors, and slow don't think it's a good idea. And if I don't have them on board, I don't have the full force, right? So it's important. Communication's important.
Speaking kind of that, have you ever had to sacrifice an individual relationship for the greater good of the alliance?
Oh, absolutely. Um, we had a time period where we had some members, and goes back to going from small to medium scale. We were relatively small at the time. We were very inclusive. We brought in a bunch of people, and we had some people that were starting to be a little bit edgy, would be the internet term, with how brazen they were, kind of walking the line between. We try to value, free speech within slow, but then also they're in slow, and what they were saying wasn't indicative of what slow stood for. um, and the problem was being a small group, when you have like 20 guys in fleet, 25 guys in fleet, if you remove these individuals, you might lose five of them, right? Because they have their own little clique. So how do you lose 20% of your potential PvP prowess at this time in a small group where you might not be able to defend your space or structures if you lose those five people? But then at the same time, they don't represent you. So for us, it was like we had to gut some of our people because they weren't slow. They were in slow. And I had good relations with them for the most part, but it's like you got to stop breaking the rules. You got to stop violating our policies. And eventually, it was a matter of if you can't stop, there's the door. And then there's some fallout from that, but overall, from there, we built stronger than ever. And obviously, at the time, I was thinking, did I make the wrong mistake? Did I screw up somewhere? Um, like, and obviously it took a couple months before we saw, like, no, I made the right choice. But it was rough. It's hard. And then you got to think of all the people that, hey, if I do this, yeah, they're everyone's going to be at risk. We might not have soft, we might not have structures for them to do their activities. And if I do that, then they're just going to leave. They're going to go join another group that has that, right? Because we don't have everything in slow. We A lot of other groups have more than we do in numbers and services and better services and such. So um, it's rough making those decisions, but yeah, it was for the greater good, and it worked out. I'm thankful it did, but yeah.
That's awesome. And I know it can be very hard to make that decision, especially in the early days.
Oh, absolutely.
What drives you to keep leading in a game as merciless and unpredictable as Eve?
Uh, the people. When I like, I mean, everyone in Eve will think, "Oh, I gotta quit. I got it's time for me to hang up the coat." And I would not be any different when I say that. I've thought of that not all the time, but I also like to say, "Mama never raised a quitter," and I feel that persistence is key within anything, be it in life or be it in Eve. And our track record shows that persistence is key. We've been hammered by a lot of bigger groups, stronger groups, better groups than us, and we survived, we edged out, we've overcome adversity, and persistence was the only thing that made it work. So leading a group like that, it can be very difficult, especially when you lose a good corp or when you lose a good person, be it IRL took them, or be it that they want to go try something else. And there's times when like you lose a big group and you're like, well, that's going to be the death of our community. Um, I'm going to hang up the coat, whatever, whatever, whatever. But then I still have those few bros that are still with me. And I'm like, I can't do it to them. I can't just quit now because it may look bleak today, but tomorrow's a new day. And when we were in Cloud Ring being hammered by Snuff and all their mercenaries and their pets, we only had 500 in our alliance, 500 characters. We're now at pushing 1,800 or so. So it's like, there's plenty of days back then when I thought maybe we should hang up the coat. Maybe I should quit. And it would have been easier to quit back then than when we have 1,800 people. But persistence and making sure that I don't just abandon people because, I'm having a bad time.
So, has leading an alliance in slow shaped the way you view human nature, not just in the way that you treat other people, but the way that other people treat other people?
Yes. I've seen, even in real life, I've seen my fair share of assholes and this human scum. But I've been very surprised at how quickly someone's personality can change. I know mental health is a big, big, big component of just gaming in general. People use it as a way, an outlet to escape, but sometimes they escape a bit too much. And Eve is a very merciless game, where if given the opportunity to screw someone over, would you? And I've seen people screw people over for nothing, for just like in real life value pennies in Eve. And whereas if that was a real life situation, would they have done it? If they didn't have the screen in front of them kind of blocking who they were, would they have done it? And so Eve has taught me to be reluctant to trust, but also um, not reluctant to give people the opportunity to earn my trust. Um, it's kind of hard to balance that, but Eve has taught me a lot about interpersonal communication, interpersonal relations, in the sense of trying to understand someone's drive and desire, and so that I can put them in the right position so that they can lead effectively. Or should I trust this person with this wallet division because they're kind of a bit flaky and things like that. So I've been very fortunate so far, and I'll knock on wood that it will keep that way. But we haven't had anyone that we've put in a position that has ever screwed us over or anything like that. But it has taught me a lot about human nature and human greed.
Doesn't stop you from having any contingencies, though.
No, plan for the worst, hope for the best.
Are there any real life skills that you've found useful in managing an alliance and vice versa?
Absolutely. It's kind of hard to kind of, because I've been playing Eve, like I said, for a lot of my life, almost half of it. I'm 31, so I've been playing it for 14 years, 13 years, yeah. So almost 14 years. So it's quite significantly impactful. Um, Going through, like, just growing up and learning how to communicate with people. I've never been a big social person. I don't go party or anything like that. So Eve was my outlet on how to communicate, like just hanging out, communication. But then the big thing was having fun and learning the game and then being really good at the game was a lot different than making a good community. So the real life skills that kind of apply to this was interpersonal communication, a little bit of psychology, understanding a person's wants and drives and desires, and how you can not necessarily manipulate that, but how you can imply that to what position they may like or may not like, but you may find them useful. A lot of the leadership task in Eve is trying to find diamonds in the rough. A lot of my best leaders are people who didn't want the position. And it's trying to convince them by using those skills I've learned over the years that they would be good at this and they would like it. And for the most part, they do. And then, it works out. But that has been very useful. And then when I translate that into real life career and work and such, and real life relations, um, being patient um, was a big thing that I had to learn over time. Someone may message you at nighttime and be very upset, and in the morning they may be okay. So being able to kind of pump the brakes and let them kind of work through the motions, and then trying to talk them down off a ledge. We've had people in the slow community that have had, drug and alcohol problems, self-harm issues, um, that trying to be able to understand that and learn about that over the years and helping people has been huge. And stuff that I didn't realize that was going to be something that I like to do is like, I want to play and have fun, but people play Eve to escape from reality and trying to be able to understand that, like, hey, people, a person going through a divorce or a person going through some substance abuse is like, how can I help them through a screen and through a mic? And how can I, and if I can learn how to do better this way, I can also apply that to real life and vice versa. So that has been very useful in my skills and how to articulate something that it was really hard for me to kind of think about in a social setting. So it's been very useful.
I do, just kind of leaning away from the interview and onto me for a moment. I do reflect that and or respect and have a similar experience. I've been on watch on all night with a group of friends on watch for someone, making sure that they stay okay. And
Yeah.
that's what this group has done, is stayed on watch with people, make sure
Yeah.
that they're good.
We've had
Um,
people that come in slow that, like, they were in the community for a spell, and they've either stopped playing Eve, but we check up on them because we're concerned and things like that. We've had people that went through trauma, and we were like, hey, does anyone have their number? Who lives close by? Like, can we get it? Can we check up on this person? Like, um, what happens in the game happens in the game, but nobody deserves to have a hard time in real life, and we're hoping we can provide an escape for that. But at the same time, it's when you're playing with these guys for months or even years, you develop a connection and a bond that is very impactful, especially when you have a lot to risk. Like Eve isn't like a game for just the casual, even though we play it like a casual. But it can be very impactful when you start hearing that, oh, such and such, they tried to kill themselves, and it's like, wow, like, what can I do? How can I, how? And the Eve community has been amazing as a whole, with the vigils. We did one for a boss member not too long ago. And people come together, and depression's a real killer. And we try to help people manage that, but if we don't know, we don't know, and that's where trying to get through this. When I see someone have an episode and they're getting mad at me over something that's very small, and I'm like, okay, well, let's take a step back, and you find out they're going through a divorce, they just lost their house, and it's like, oh man, like, you can't be quick to jump down throats. You can't, and like, you have to have patience, you have to have compassion, you have to have some understanding, and put yourself in their shoes. And that has been a big skill for me in leadership, but just in life in general.
that's awesome. Speaking of kind of getting into the game to begin with, to gain these skills, to cross pollinate skills from out of the game into the game, How did you first get into Eve?
So I first saw a YouTube ad, back when YouTube had like those little ads on their side there and whatnot. And this was before like the ad blocker. So it was like 2011, 2012. And I didn't really have the ad blocker, or nobody really had them then. And ads were only 5 seconds. So it wasn't like a big deal. Um, and I saw an Eve thing, and I was like, well, shoot, what's this Eve thing? And at first I thought it was one of those like, bullcrap mobile whatever games that was coming
Like
out. Like,
Second Life or IMVU?
yeah, and I was just like that. And so I dismissed it the first time, and then I saw it a couple of times. So I started looking up. And ironically, it wasn't so much as the gameplay, it was the scale of the game. I was like, oh my goodness, this whole PI thing, like there's you can control planets, and like I didn't understand any of the stuff that was going on. And I was like, well, screw it. There's a 14-day free trial in order to play. And then I did that, and then I tried to play a little bit for like 3-4 days, and then a group approached me because mass recruitment mails and things, and the group kind of took me in, and then I ended up creating a second trial account because the 21-day invite a friend at the time, and that's really how I got into Eve. And they taught me the ropes, they taught me PvP. I fell in love. My first battleship they helped me build was a Dami. And yeah, it was great. I was doing level 4 missions with people and a little crappy destroyer, salvaging behind them as I learned the game. But it was hard to get in back then. I feel that Eve now is a much easier game to get in because there's more resources. You get Eve University, you have skill injectors, you have some of the skills that have been added into the game already. I do believe that CCP should pretty much remove all fit-in skills and just give everyone max fit-in skills since day one. That would make the game a whole lot more accessible for people, and just comp everyone else who has them with SP, right? Skill points. Just give them skill points. But apart from that, that's how I got into Eve, and yeah, it was fun. It was a headache. There was a lot of headaches trying to learn Eve, trying to learn. It was like going through a university course at the time, right? Like it's like, man, there's so much stuff to learn, and they've added more
Absolutely.
since then. But yeah,
They really have. I mean, I remember when I first saw Eve, I'm like, my only experience really with space games was I needed a controller. So I waited until I got back home because I was away at the time. I plugged in my joystick. I'm like, all right, let's go. I don't need this.
yeah. Or you spend this like 30-minute time to like create this character avatar, and you never see them ever again. At least at
Never
that
see
time,
them.
there was a walking
There
captain's
was
thing, which
Captain
was
Quarter.
horribly optimized. Like my computer was screaming at me while I was in this. Like, what is going on? And then you go into your actual space, and the game runs like it's perfectly fine. Like you can run it on a potato. I was like, wow, this is wild. But yeah, no, that character creation kind of throws people off. It's like, oh man, I gotta look good. I gotta put on a nice jacket. So, yeah, you never see that person ever again.
Yeah. What other games or hobbies do you enjoy outside of Eve?
Well, apart from trying to survive as an adult in the current economic
That's a game
times,
in and of itself.
yeah, that's who needs a sim game when you get that. Um, Hobbies, obviously, I like to tinker with the odd tech stuff. Right now I've just been playing with a lot of smart switches and trying to like Google smart home my setup, with everything from light switches to light bulbs to whatever. That's currently what I've been doing. I've given up on caring about if they're monitoring me or not. They can see how many times I flick the light on and off just because I'm bored, whatever. And just tinkering around with technology, Raspberry Pis. Been playing around with a lot of. I'm in cybersecurity, so been playing around with like honeypots, but also things like Kali Linux, and I work in that field too, so it's been fun. Other than my hobbies and work, game wise, strategy games, anything Paradox Interactive, they got me hooked. I got the needle already in my arm for it, right? Like Hearts of Iron, Europa, Stellaris. I didn't care for Vicky 3, but it's improved, but it was all right. I'm excited for Europa 5. I'm probably gonna be like MIA why when that comes out. Um, we have some people within the Eve community that enjoys them too, so we've been having some fun here and there with that, especially Hearts of Iron. The other thing was we played Battlefield 6 when it was on the
Yeah,
playtest.
that
We had
was a lot of fun.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. I'm very hopeful because I haven't played Battlefield in ages. I haven't played Call of Duty since the first Black Ops. So I was like,
It
I
felt
need a
like
shooter.
classic Battlefield.
Yeah, it was great. So that's the other thing is slow as a gaming community first and foremost. Yeah, we play Eve. That's our focus. That's our MMO. But I want to build a community that I can just log in and be like, there's bros playing games. Like I don't need to go find someone. Like here we have bros. And yeah, no, it's great.
I still refuse to play Empire at War with you.
Yeah. Oh, Total War games. Like, don't get me started, man. This is this. Oh,
Well, I if I play any strategy games with you, it's either as an ally or if we're playing like Stellaris, I just have to be like, be a vassal.
yeah.
Otherwise, I'm getting zerged.
Oh, I just love it. Just being sweaty on them.
So we're coming near the end. I've just got a handful of questions left. How do you
Yep.
relax or unwind after a particularly intense session of Eve?
Um, Usually just shooting the shit with the guys in comms, right? Like, I mean, there's times like where we're like we'll go into some heated stuff. Like we'll do something that we don't think we're gonna win, and we're like, oh, this is gonna be rough. Like this is gonna be dumb. A prime example would have been about a year now when we first had armor units, right? Everyone was laughing at us. Even the spies that were in our group were looking at it and saying, "There's no way they're gonna fly these things. This is
Hugin
stupid."
is primary.
Yeah, and it's just like we have these armor tanked EM thermal like bricked up to the max for those resist am MWD Munins. And people like Munins are dead. They don't have arty. Stop using them. They're dumb. And then we threw it at snuffed out. And we had friends with Sedition and Conifers. They were asking us to help them. And we said, okay, we'll help, but under one condition. You will fly under me. I will pick the doctrine and you will make sure you're ready for the doctrine. And they begrudgingly said yes. And they're kind of like, I don't know about this, man. This seems pretty dumb. I was like, it's okay. It's fine. Our coalition at the time, Phoenix Coalition, said, no, these things won't work. They're not going to work. People all over Eve. We had some people in Pravi block laughing at us for coming up with the idea. And after we had that fight and we spectacularly wiped a good chunk of the Snuff fleet, saved the structure that was in Hall, that was a Fort Azar, and lost one or two, I think one Munin of like the 70 Munions we had.
Yeah, I'll
And
have
they
to look
lost
back at the BR.
I can't remember exactly, but it was a bad wipe. And the fact that Snuff are very, very talented and they knew what we were bringing. They knew well in advance. And even they said, we knew it was going to be kind of rough because of the EM thermal. We didn't think it was going to be that rough. And it was like, here's people that have been playing 10, 20, 30, well, not 30, but 10, 20 years. And they have way more experience than me. They have way more ISK than me. They have way more talent in their group than me. And they were shocked at how well it worked. So we're kind of sitting there at the end of it, kind of smiling and giggling and kind of like this, like it was stressful because like it was the first time using this and everyone said it wasn't going to work and it worked and it worked amazingly. Big Ab came in near the end as we had everything tied down. We wiped out most of the lodging anyways and we were chipping away at nightmares, and then it started eating the nightmares we had tackled down, and it was great. And Big Ab was surprised like how tough these little nuggets were. We actually dubbed the doctrine as T-34s because we were playing Hearts of Iron and we were going through this tank meta phase at the time. So we just kind of like throw things together. A lot of times when we have these campaigns or skirmishes or things, we kind of come up with memes on how we're going to do it. Like we're going to have it like a Warhammer 40K theme. We're going to have it like some like, like Mafia Italian theme, or we're going to have some kind of like, Star Wars theme for it. In this case, we had like a World War II, like just throw everything at them, like dirty tanks. So it was great. And then afterwards, like we're all trying to like deconstruct, like we're in disbelief that we actually won. We actually did this. Like holy shit, like it worked. And yeah, it was great. And just being able to chat with people afterwards and not have to be like, oh, fleet's over and you're in your command channel and you go off and people don't hear from you until the next fleet. It's like, no, chatting with the people afterwards for the next day or two and just unwinding and decompressing, and then just hearing the feedback from people and how passionate they were about it was great.
That's awesome. All right, I've got a couple fun thought experiments to kind of lean us out of the interview. Should be pretty quick and rapid fire. Would you rather total control over the alliance but lose its spirit, or less control but a thriving, passionate community?
Oh, less control. Absolutely. I'm a big believer in independency, both in life and in game. I believe that the less control I have to have over people, but we're thriving and passionate, and we're hitting our milestones, would be 10 times better than me having complete authoritarian control. Um, it's one of those things where if I don't have to deal with it, then I can play more of the video game that I like, with the people that I want to be with. And if it's thriving because of that, then even better, right? Like, that would be even great. But no, absolutely less control.
What's one moral line in Eve you would never cross, no matter the payout?
Um, we've actually had this issue. What was it, 3 years ago in Skull and Pass? Um, a notorious person named Chaser One, convicted child predator. Um, he renamed himself, created a new corporation and alliance called Impulse Control, which is yeah. They came into Skull Pass. They got space from a group called Feign Disorder, and we didn't know about this group. We didn't know Chaser One. We had no interactions with them. Um, but we had a group. We had a little coalition forming called with S3. There's Southern Star Syndicate and a couple other groups that were with us, like United UA fleets and stuff. And we're kind of building this kind of united front against Feign Disorder, and they were going around bullying small groups, telling them they had to pay rent, but rent wasn't allowed in the Southeast Agreement, so they were calling it protection fee to try to go around it. They had tunes in Pandemic Legion and Horde, and they were kind of implementing that. So we kind of created this united front to try to fight them and their cronies. They brought in Big Ab a couple times, even Snuffed. It was weird when Snuff and Big Ab were fighting side by side. So they had a lot of deep pockets and had a lot of deep connections. And this one group called Impulse Control was part of that group that was helping them. And they were perfectly okay, Feign Disorder, knowing full well that this guy was Chaser One. Because at one point, Impulse Control swapped sides because Feign Disorder was being toxic and annoying. So they're like, no, we're not going to deal with this. We're going to swap to the other side. And we were making very good strides and winning very heavily. And the moment they swapped sides, Feign Disorder started making a stink about, oh, that guy's Chaser One. It's like, who's that? We didn't know, right? There was like, we knew like there was a story of Chaser One, but it's like, oh, who? Like, his character's not in there. Da 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 da. Do you have evidence? Please provide it. And they were just being asshats, not telling us anything. Eventually, Wilhelm from I forget the corp alliance that he was in at the time, but he forwarded some information to us. We had a powwow. We ended up getting contacts in Fire Coalition and the Russians, and they forwarded us a bunch of info, audio files, and we matched it with the voice of their leader. And right then and there, it was already decided. I didn't have to consult with any of my CEOs and directors, because if they disagreed with this, they weren't slow material and they weren't going to be in my alliance. I don't care. I pretty much said, we are resetting them, we are evicting them, period. S3, we had a few people in there, and I made it very clear. I was like, not only was there people within our own coalition that knew, that tried to hide, those were also being evicted, period. There's some people that try to push back within S3 that said, hey, well, if we remove these guys, and there was a group called Warriors of the Blood God, we're going to lose potentially, a third of our fleet size, because they make up numbers and things like that. I was like, well, if their members are okay with flying with a convicted sexual predator, as we're a family organization, Slow is, we can't afford to have that risk within Slow. Then some people try to defend his actions, saying, well, it was a few years ago, this and that. It's like, no. And when we found out that Warriors of the Blood God knew about this, and they held it from us, and when we found out that other directors within that organization and impulse control knew about it, and they withheld it from us as well, we had no mercy. And when it was like, okay, cool, if you guys in the coalition want to still be friends with these guys, we're not in this coalition anymore. It's either us or you side with this guy. And that was the moral line that I was like, we're not crossing. We are not having this acceptance or tolerance of that kind of behavior within any of our association. So they all followed suit eventually, some of them begrudgingly, because they were scared that we're going to lose our sovereignty. And like, to put it in perspective, it's like, I understand their position. It's like, hey, we can't afford to lose the 20-30 pilots that they bring to a fleet, because we're finally just starting to win against Fane and Big Ab and all their cronies. But we lose this, we lose big. And I said, it doesn't matter. We don't deserve the solve we have if we make the decision to keep them. So, and we ended up evicting them. We ended up winning eventually the war, but of course it took a toll from like 8 months of constant operations, and then eventually we got we were like, we need to take a break from this, and we got eked out of nullsec and went to faction warfare. And to this day, it's like one of those things where it's like, if we bit our lip and said shut up and just toughed it out, would we still have that space today? Maybe, right? But I feel that it was a right call, but it was
And I think
morally
it,
right.
and just on my side, I think it gave us the strength standing by that to tackle other internal problems.
Yes, exactly. Like, and that's where when we had issues where we had to remove certain people, it's like, we're gonna lose potentially a chunk of our members if we remove this person, but we can't keep having to deal with the drama that comes from this person because they keep saying horrible things on comms and making people feel horrible about themselves, and we don't like that. We don't want bully culture within Slow. That can go in on other alliances, but it won't be tolerated here. So, when we using this whole Chaser One incident in impulse control as a kind of guideline of like, we stood up against it once, and yeah, it hurt, but we muddled through, we persisted. Well, there was some dark days, but there was always light at the end of the tunnel. So that was definitely the moral line that I will never cross. Is we do not accept child predators within Slow. We will never accept it, and we will never associate ourselves with it. We do not accept people who scam or steal from New Bros. Another incident was the Captain Vale guy, Commander Vale. He creates new corporations, makes his pyramid scheme, steals hundreds of billions of IS from new players who dump money into shares and stocks, and then he just deletes character, swaps to a new one, rinses and repeats over and over again. And then new players get this horrible distaste of Eve in their mouth, and it's harder for us to recruit because we recruit new players. And when we find him, we've tracked and found him like 3 times now and destroyed and dismantled his corporations before he's ever got to a point where he could seriously do damage. But those are other moral lines we will not cross. We will not exploit our member base for personal or alliance gains. The alliance is built by the members, and it's successful because of their contributions. Without them, we are not a community, and we are not an alliance. So.
And I think that blends really nicely into my last question. If Slow disappeared tomorrow, what do you think members would miss the most?
Probably the logo. I mean, I got it right here on my sweater.
And we just keep making variations of it.
Yeah, I think one of the great things I really love about Slow is not only just our culture, the relaxed and fun nature of it, but we have great persons like yourself, like prayed in our Slow community, our brand management. Honorable mentions of Butters, Secret Butters, who was new about a couple of years ago, is now one of our alliance managers running our recruitment department. And like, yeah, it's not perfect. I make mistakes, Butters makes mistakes, you make mistakes, but we persist, and it's because the greater community likes this stuff. Like, there's been days I'm sure that you're like, oh man, I don't want to stream, I don't want to make a video, but you do it anyways, and then you're like, you know what, I'm glad I did. And there's days where I'm like, I don't want to get on Eve, I really don't want to deal with this drama, but I have to, because at the end of the day, it's the persistence and the reward that comes after it, which is being able to have fun with the guys and girls that are in Slow. And if Slow disappeared, I think people would miss that, miss the brand, miss the culture, miss the community, miss the like brotherhood or sisterhood that we have built, where you can come home from a hard day at work where your boss has yelled at you, or you feel like you're going to get fired, but you can unplug, you can disconnect from that, and you can just engross yourself in a group of people that are passionate, that care, and want to play video games with you. And I don't think slow would ever disappear. In the sense of what we've built, I think it will last even longer than Eve, because Eve's dead, I guess, or dying. I think that's what's going on. But if Eve did die, we would still be slow. We would still be branded as slow, and we would find another MMO that we would gravitate towards. Um, right now it's Eve, and I hope it will stay Eve until it does die, if it does. But yeah, I think that's what they would miss the most, is the culture, the community, and just the overall what we've built, because they all feel part of it. Every member has contributed in one way or another to the community, to the culture, to the success of our organization, whether it be a single person adventure mining some rocks and selling it to our buyback, that contributes, or whether it be someone recruited a new corporation that has 50 guys that all start helping, that's contributed, or smoothing over some HR issues. Every person has built slow. I may be the one that founded it. I may be the one that orchestrates some of the macro strings, but I don't micro string anything. And every member has the right to say that they're part of the foundation in the brick and mortar that built slow. And that is what they will miss. It's like removing a piece of themselves when they leave, or being like, I started something and I want to see it through. So I think that's what they'll miss.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for the time that you've taken out of your busy in-game and out-of-game life to sit down and answer questions with me. Do you have any questions for me before we go?
No, I mean, we talk pretty regularly, so you'll usually answer my questions. I know we just recently got monetized on YouTube. I saw
Yep.
that,
We've
so
made
that's huge.
$2.
Yeah, two whole doll hairs, eh? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, like, I mean, that's amazing. Big kudos to you. You've done amazing with the slow community YouTube channel. Probably one of our largest metric recruitments that we have, and with all the work that Allison has done on the IT side, building up not only our website, and of course the custom bot that he has been building for 2 years now, or more actually. It's been amazing to see the evolution of Slow from when we were like a small little corporation with just me, myself, and I, to convincing you to come play Eve again for a bit, and then convincing a couple of people in high sec that were completely new to the game to just stick it through to where we are now. It's been an amazing ride, and to see that we keep pushing that goal forward, making Slow bigger and better in every way, shape, and form. And yeah, we have inefficiencies, we have people that fall through the cracks, we have issues, as any group does, but being monetized on our YouTube channel that has been running for a little over a year now is
Two. We just
two.
passed our 2-year anniversary.
Oh, jeez, happens so quick. But
It
no,
really
like
did.
that's amazing, and that's and then of course a big shout out for you for the brand management. I mean, you manage our brand really well. I'm really happy. You consult with me when on new campaigns and stuff, which is amazing. Our merch store. I mean, I like my hoodie. I know I brought up Butters enough times in this, but I'll bring him up one more time when he was saying about one time he had the slow shirt on outside, or was it a baseball cap? I can't remember. He had something slow merch on,
It's something
and
slow. I think it
yeah,
was, yeah.
and he was like, yeah, they thought it was like a skate company or some band or something. They thought it was very cool looking. I was just like, man, I don't know about you, but wearing this in public can be a little bit. I love it though. I love it. I think it suits Eve. I think it suits us really well, and I love it. But
Well, don't
big shout
worry.
out for the brand
I am
management.
working on more merch that is wearable outside of the house more
Yeah,
confidently.
yeah. Don't get me wrong. I've wore this outside.
Oh, I have
I mean,
too.
yeah, I know Butters has, because he keeps telling me about all his interactions with people. And he's crazy. But no, I want to give a shout out to that. And this all around our alliance management team, in ebbs and flows sometimes, but Malgore with his logistics and stuff, and some of the headache with our current space trying to get logistics, and he's been calm and patient and been very good. Sar, I mean, I can't do any of this without him. All right, like he takes off a lot of the administrative weight off me. He's been helping out a lot. And then CEOs, right? Being able to have their input and impact on how to build slow better and better every day has been huge, right? So I like being an alliance leader is great in the sense that if you have great people that will work with you. When you don't, it is bad. It is not fun. And I've been very fortunate to have some great people. And I'll never consider them underlings because I don't see things like that. I don't want it to be like that. I don't want people to like, be like, oh, I got to stiffen up my back because Matt came in the channel. It's like, I don't give a shit. You can call me an asshole and we can laugh about it, right? Like, or we can giggle about it. I'm here to have fun, not to run a company. Even though we're like we have all kinds of cool stuff that would be our brand management is better than most companies out there, which is insane. And
You gotta love the socks and sandals ads.
yeah, those are great. Those are great. I like and people when they see the slow brand, they see the slow name, they giggle at it. They're like, "Oh, I saw your station ad," or "Oh, I saw the YouTube short," or "Oh, I saw your AT commercial with those stupid socks and sandals." And like people see it and remember it, and we get a lot of interested folks and wanting to join us. And I'm just waiting for the next big milestone, right? Like we're getting onesies and twosies, and we're getting small corporations, but I feel like persistence, just like every other time, is key. It's a key ingredient to making a successful alliance and a successful community. And the next big milestone will be when we get another big corp or another couple big corps, and we push over that 2K mark, and we're pushing 100-man fleets in both EU and USTZ, and we're bringing up our Aussie time zone so we can get some good content against Frat and stuff. And I'm excited. I'm really excited. And I think all the work that you do with the YouTube community, with the brand management, with L doing the IT and tech services in the background is immensely important because without those, people don't know who we are. People don't get to see what type of community they would potentially join if they don't know any of the glimpses in, because we could say that we're like the best alliance ever, but until they join they won't know. And that YouTube community channel has done amazing work to kind of showcase who we are and what we kind of sound like in our vibe wise, and it has helped me a lot when recruiting corporations.
Right on. Well, again, Matt, thank you again for taking the time to sit down and interview. Like I said, you're a busy guy, and hopefully we can do this again sometime. Maybe
Yeah,
a 3-year look back, difference,
yeah.
contrast, whatever it is. Maybe we'll have this at FanFest someday.
Oh yeah, that yeah. I do plan on going to FanFest. I don't know when. Eventually, soon, within the next couple of years, who knows? And then people will be able to pester me
With
there.
little one on the way, I'm definitely not going to make it to 2026 myself.
Yeah, I don't think I'll make it to 2026. They already sold the tickets, didn't they?
I think they're still for sale right now, and I actually did the math. It's actually not that expensive. Still a chunk of change, but a lot better than I thought. I was doing the math to psych myself out, go like, it's gonna be too far, and I'm like, that's not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it'd be cool to go to one of those things. I haven't done any of the Eve events in North America, or anywhere, right? So, I wish there was a bigger event in Canada or in that closer to the East Coast. The big one, of course, is the Vegas one, but it's all the way on the all the way down on the West Coast. I'm like, yeah. And so, but no, I'll be excited to see about going to Reykjavik. Probably maybe in 2027 will be probably where I'll look at it. But until then, I'll keep doing my best in my little corner on Eve, and maybe make some memorable and fun experiences and get bigger and stronger.
All right. Well, you have a great one, Matt.
You too. Take care, Lynn.
I want to take a quick moment to thank all of my amazing YouTube members. Your support keeps this community strong and helps me bring you even more EVE Online stories, streams, and content. I couldn't do this without you, so thank you so very much.